going to give you some training updates lately. If you've been enjoying some of the past videos with this a little bit more of, a lecture with some fancy animations, which I'm not doing myself. I've hired an editor. His name is Peter, 18-year-old, very talented from Greece, making the videos look much more professional than I certainly am. But I also wanted to have a more informal discussion, updating you guys on some of my things that are going on with training. I'm going to give you some tips, takeaways for arm growth. And we're also going to talk about my spin or my input on dating. Let's listen to a pod today. Something flared up. So we're going to talk a little bit about that since, according to the analytics on this channel, 98 point something % of you guys are men. So some of you might be interested in that. So the first exciting update is that we got a new measurement on the arms. Of course, as always, cold flexed at 19 inches and 3/16, which is just under a quarter of an inch. On that tape measure, you've got 16 little notches. Just slowly carve away one at a time until we get to that 20-inch mark. And we're at 3/16, which is, just under a quarter. So maybe 19.2 inches is a new update. As always, without a pump, the right arm. The right arm's a little bigger. We use that one as the metric for growth. Lefty is a little behind, a quarter inch behind or something. I don't really focus on measuring him, He's going to come along. Righty's the leader, and lefty's kind of coming along, but we don't really directly acknowledge him. The unwanted child. Let's focus on the golden boy on the right. That's our star. We don't want to look at smaller lefty. But it's pretty normal to have a little difference in your arm measurements. And, I like to focus on the bigger one because, let's keep it optimistic and exciting. In terms of arm growth, the more time that goes on, I just really think you have to focus on some way to get stronger. And the caveat to that could be that you could substitute that by leveraging volume. It's not my preference. It's not what I've seen to be as effective for me, meaning, you're using volume, adding more and more sets to be the driver of growth. It seems like some people do it. And that's why I'm like, everybody's so focused on there being like a exact, one way to do stuff. That's why the science-based lifting freaking phase that's sort of dying down, thank the Lord, was so appealing because it's like, it's such an affirmative, like, you can't argue with science. What are you, a science denier? This is the exact way, like slow reps build more muscle, or this, people want that. They want the exact perfect answer. And I think undeniably there's some variance that's hard to quantify. And some people respond differently to different training methods. You can't deny that. But for me personally, I've seen the kind of medium volume, or you find a volume that is enough to stimulate growth, and then you keep that constant. I've experimented with scaling up the volume over time, and I saw growth from that, but the fatigue that I incurred seemed to outpace my recovery, and it seemed a little that is your lever that you're pulling for growth. Didn't work as well for me. I find, you find an amount of volume that stimulates growth, but that you can't, holy, a little glitch there, but an amount that you can recover from. And then you can kind of keep that constant, at least for a little while. Maybe as time goes on, your body gets stronger and adapts, and you can maybe increase that or whatever. And obviously your frequency of how often you train factors into that. And I've talked about this in other videos. You find a combination of frequency, how often you hit the muscle, and then how many sets you do for that muscle in any session that's going to work. And then keeping that relatively consistent, once you've kind of leveled those up and bumped up against the maximum amount that your body can recover from, then trying to get stronger with your arm movements, I think is the end game after that. At least that's what I've seen. And a lot of people train their arms differently. because they're a smaller muscle group. I think that's a mistake. Chasing a pump, I think, is stupid. You could do that at the end of your workout. I do. It's fun. But I'm not thinking this is going to produce a lot of my growth. And again, that's coming from a place where I used to just pump chase all the time. It just doesn't seem to produce as much growth. Maxing out the amount of blood I can get in there. So for those of you that are here video after video, I appreciate you. A lot of this is going to be repetitive. That's just the truth, man. I don't have a novel, gimmicky thing to say other than structure your training so that you can try to get stronger. Keeping the exercises consistent, at least for a certain period of time, and then you could rotate exercises if you get bored every couple months, but reducing the amount of fluff so that you've just got, 1 or 2 tricep exercises, 1 or 2 bicep exercises you focus on. The arms are pretty simple muscles. You don't need a billion different angles. Exercises you feel like you can progress the weight in. Try to keep your form consistent, and then use extended rest time so that your muscles can recover in between sets and you can push close to your maximum output for multiple sets. Alternating from triceps to biceps is the most effective way to do that, because while your triceps are training, your biceps are resting, and while your biceps are resting, your triceps are training and resting. You know what I'm saying? 8 to 15 rep range. Control the weight, but add a little bit of explosive, a little burst, I think will help you to get stronger. You're focused on horsing that weight a little bit, but you're not letting your form slip out of control. And, prioritizing your training that way so that you're emphasizing trying to get stronger, I think that's your best bet. At least in my experience, that's what I've seen. That's what I'm seeing to continue to drive growth. So that's it for the arm stuff. How about this, science debacle lately? Dr. Mike, Jeff Nip, not looking so good. Those of you that have been around, man, 6 months, a year ago, I made some videos. I decided I was done, with this reactionary content. It wasn't positive. I didn't want to be involved in it anymore. But, some of you might remember that, I've reacted to a number of Dr. Mike's videos, pushing back, just being like, this, like what you're saying does not make any sense based on what I've seen. And I think that you're just saying these things for content, to get views and to make money. And I don't blame you. It's a hustle. But when you want to act like an authority, I think this is what really got him, Well, anybody that's not familiar, you got to go to Solomon Nelson's channel, and basically showed that his PhD was horribly done, which is the main point of, the focal point of Dr. Mike's online presence. He's a doctor. And, he uses that to discredit everyone else. Exercise scientist reacts to this person, and especially those early days videos before he started getting pushback, he was ruthless, just destroying people. I mean, to me, it was transparent from the beginning. I was like, this seems like somebody who is appealing to authority and wants to signal to the world that I'm better than other people, even though his results don't say that. But, I'm sure he still's got lots of fans, but, now it's like, yeah, I made some of those videos kind of trying to respectfully push back and be like, hey, like this doesn't make sense. There's no science behind these slow negatives. This is just confused. Like it's just taking advantage of all these new kind of lifters that don't know better. And he's a doctor. He must know what he's talking about. Not that I'm the expert and I know everything, but I just think a lot of people who are, been training for years and years would listen and be like, I don't agree with anything that he's saying. I don't think, there's always going to be some disagreement. There's a lot of gray area, but just some of the claims and the thing, I was like, you're just making shit up for content, man. And then slapping your, doctor, PhD approval on it, and people just go nuts. Anyways, I don't know what the goal of, talking about that is. I think the takeaway is like the downside is that like there is actually some useful science. When the pendulum's probably going to swing so far, back in the other direction where people won't listen to anything science-based now. And part of the problem is you have a character, like Dr. Mike, who's trying to leverage the label of science for his own personal gain on social media to make millions of dollars. Right? So he's kind of coming in and taking a stance for his own personal desires, and giving science probably a worse name than it actually has. And now now a lot of people are just like, I'm not going to listen to anything science-based, where it's still kind of interesting to see when some of the new studies come out. Like, I take all of them with a grain of salt, but I'm like, oh, it's an interesting finding, but it's limited to this exact scenario. And that doesn't mean it's now a law that there's a singular answer for you can only have to do length and partials to get here. It's like, what the fuck are we talking about? You know what I mean? So I just think content and like people who are bad actors who are looking to take those findings, use the appeal to authority of science, which was bulletproof up until recently, to say this is how it works. And it's pretty hard to argue with that, right? Because it's scientifically proven. When you look under the hood and you see how these studies are conducted, and it's like, there's a lot of gray area here still, man. Like, and then these people, for content and personal gain, present it as if it's law, and then sell programs based off of it. So I'm not here to like gloat and be like, I fucking told you so. Although I kind of did, because some of those videos I made, man, like one of them, I don't remember which one it was, but might have been like Dr. Mike's advice stole your arm gains or something. Dr. Mike's criminal arm training advice, something like that. It had 91% dislikes. Like, those 9% of you that liked it, appreciate it, man. 91% dislikes. And I made that and I was like, I'm not saying I know everything, but I'm just a couple key points where I'm like, I've been dedicated to growing my arms for years and years, and there's some variability from individual to individual, but some of this stuff just makes no sense. Like, based on my experience, I'm like, to me, it's like so clear that he was just coming up with content to get views. And that's what a lot of my pushback was. I was like, you're just like coming up with stuff and using your authority to create some new novel, which people love. People want that. Like, I understand why it was popular. But 91% of people were mad at me for saying that. And some of the comments, man, are like, there's like a couple hundred comments, like almost all of them negative. People just like attack. It's like you insulted their family member, so I think a lot of it is like, and there's a lot of people who don't like the way they look and don't have great results in the gym and don't really love it or don't really want to work hard. And then they see someone else like me who's in better shape than them, and they're mad. And there's the best way to get a leg up on that person is to be condescending and act like they're stupid because you don't have better results. And that has a lot of people. And so he soothes that, kind of want for a lot of people. Like, look at me, like I'm Dr. Mike, I'm out of shape, I don't look good, but I'm smarter than everyone and I know the best way to train and I'm funny and I say all these charismatic, he's a great speaker. So I think a lot of people are like, this is my champion. Like, yes, you see me. Like, I hate those people in the gym too. I hate these like famous people who are in such good shape and have such a good life, whatever, or looks like they do. And I'm like envious and jealous. And I can just be like, you don't know anything. You're so stupid. And proven by science, you're a freaking idiot. Like, it feels good. That's why there's a huge wave of people that would get behind that. It's like he's kind of filling a demand. It's not totally his fault. There's a lot of people that are primed. They're like, wow, this is great. Simplify it. Tell me what science says and put down all these people that, always made me feel like I was less than them. And now I'm in the gym. I'm armored with science-based training and Dr. Mike. And I feel like I'm better than those people now because look at that idiot meathead who's jacked, who, isn't milk and knee centric. Anyways, I think my only take would be like, let's not completely throw science out the window. I'm not even a huge supporter of it, but I think it has its place. And I think any tool that could enhance my results, I'm open to. Whether it's somebody who's, experimented on themselves and developed tremendous results, or it's a new experiment that was conducted that's showing something. There could be something to learn from there. So I think removing your ideology and becoming results biased is the best way to go, to ultimately get the best results and, just stop focusing on, drama and like, it's like low level stuff of like just trying to soothe your insecurities. I don't know. I'm just like, to me, this is stupid. I'm like, I don't care. Like, If it makes me feel bad, but I can get better results with it, I'll do it. So that's what I encourage you to try to rise above, and because ultimately just pushing yourself to get a little better and seeing better results then going to make you feel better about yourself anyways. So if you just stay stuck feeling insecure and attaching yourself to different ideologies just to justify and explain where you're currently at, while sacrificing getting better results, like that's not a better long-term plan, but it's the easier one, that it doesn't require much strength to do. And so a lot of people will go that way, but don't try to stay avoidant of adopting any one ideology or blindly following any one person, no matter how much you like them, and try to stay open. Like, I'm not a big fan of the science, but I will still, if somebody comes out and there's a new study and they're an objective reviewer of science, like, I'll listen. That's why I would watch some of his videos in Dr. Mike in the first place. But I was like, this is crazy, man. This is not just reporting what's being shown in the research. This is a whole other freaking animal, which is now coming to light what's going on there. So I think he could still have fans, and like I have no issue with that. Like, people like him as a person, and he's entertaining. You want to follow him, that's great. But it's just you can't. Yeah, it's just there's so many things to it that are just like, that's kind of unfortunate and like a little gross, and you're abusing the public's trust, and yeah, it's not great. Wouldn't want to be in his shoes at the moment. So yeah, don't totally dismiss science just because we've got a couple of bad actors who are leveraging it to make their own personal gain, because the people that actually conduct these studies, researchers who don't have any followers on social media, they don't deserve to be punished, because other people are taking those studies and kind of manipulating on social media for views and then creating a bad name for science as a whole. I just think we need to slot it a bit, as like one aspect of like, okay, when a controlled experiment shows this, that's something to consider, but that's not a law. I think that's what I hope we can take away from this, is like, that's an additional contribution to the conversation of what could work to get more muscle gain. But that doesn't mean just because we had a couple studies showing, like, there's so many things that aren't included in those studies if you read them, that if you take the time to look at it, you're like, like I can see how, I'm seeing a different result doing this because it didn't isolate all these factors. So I think that's just something to keep in mind. And the timer's coming on here. Only got like 4 minutes left, which is probably good because I'm rambling. Last thing I want to talk about is I was listening to a Chris Williamson podcast with this guy named Scott Galloway, which was good at points, but also, a little hard to listen to it at times. And they're talking a lot about men's issues, like men having problems dating, men, this, that. And there's one point in particular here.
I think it makes sense, at least from a supply and demand perspective, about why it is that women have said, well, his red flag culture, he doesn't meet the criteria, because the likelihood is that there will be a line of available men coming in after. Talking about men's icks for women almost doesn't work, because implied in you have an ick is you also have options. Whereas realistically, it's like, hey, dude, fucking be grateful with what you've got, right? Like, hold on to that thing, because there might not be another one coming. And this has been true for pretty much all of time. What is it? Twice as many female ancestors than male ancestors. 80% of women reproduced, only 40% of men. Yeah. So you go, okay, fucking, whoa, you struck the lottery. Like 40%, that's not that great.
But the reality is, it's a harsh thing to say, we're disposable. Right?
Have you seen this? I learned this. I couldn't wait to drop this stat on you. In the trolley problem, 88% of participants would sacrifice a man over a woman.
Yeah, but it's evolutionary, because if you have a village of 100 people, 50 men, 50 women, 40 men go off and die in war. Village
10 very happy men.
Village survives. 40 of the women gone, village goes out of business.
That, we're talking about how, men shouldn't have icks, or they shouldn't have like standards, basically, is what you're saying. You should take what you can get. And they're sort of explaining the situation as if, men are so hard done by, and referencing like things from like hundreds or thousands of years ago. And I'm a big fan of evolutionary psychology, but I just think if you're going to point at, the fact that over our history, only 40% of men survived and 80% of women did. So, men are expendable, and women are, much more likely to have more options and choices. Like, sure, but today in most countries, it's like 50% men, 50% women. We're not at war. We're not hunting and gathering, getting killed by leopards and lions consistently. Like, most people are living in a society where half the people are men and half the people are women. Right? And so I just don't think adopting this is a little bit of like kind of manipulation to sort of make it seem like dating is worse than it is, and it's just the odds are stacked against men. And don't get me wrong, there are, challenges for men in dating that can be very difficult, but there are also challenges for women. And you have like dating requires men and women. So it's not like you can have just a problem for men. Like if it's a problem for men, there's a other side of it that's affecting women. Like the two things are interactive dynamically. And I think that part of the issue, with saying, men can't have standards, men can't have an ick, you just got to take what comes to you because, it's set up this way and men are expendable, that's a totally bad mindset. I don't think you should look like that. You should think, there's 50% men, 50% women, depending on what your goals are in the relationship, what point you are in your life. But in theory, there's a person for everyone. And I think what's a bigger part of the issue is that most people are delusional. Most people think that they deserve something more than they do. And you're not really that aware of where your standing actually is in terms of attractiveness. It's like most guys are looking at, models on Instagram and porn stars and stuff, which is like, the top little percent of physical, beauty and sexual attractiveness in women. It's like, that's not the reality, but you're on a phone all day, so you're an average guy. I can relate to this. I used to be in this camp, so I get it. And then your standards are so freaking high. You're only going for the hottest chicks. And then you're like, it's impossible to date. And same thing with women. It's like women are only going for the tallest, richest, most alpha freaking whatever definition of guys, and there's just a small percentage of them. There's a tiny little, that's like a very small amount. There's a majority of women are like Brad Pitt, super attractive. Yeah, he is. Most women would love to go on a date with him, And same thing for men looking at women like it's like the hottest model on Instagram, like fucking 90. Every guy would want to go on a date with her. Yeah, but that doesn't mean you can. And so I think a lot of these issues, social media has exacerbated them because it creates delusion on both sides. Like women get inundated with attention. You just got to fire up an Instagram and a Tinder profile, and you got freaking 40 guys interested in you. Just like swarming you with attention that's mostly cheap attention. They're just looking to capitalize on a sexual opportunity, but then the girl thinks, wow, I have so many options. So then when she's out, it's a hot girl trap out in life. She thinks that she's got a million different choices, but really it's like 39 of those 40 guys are just trying to fuck her, and maybe one was actually interested in dating her. But then she meets a guy who, separate of this, if social media didn't exist, who's probably like on her equal level, but her standards are so high because of this delusion that she thinks he's not adequate because he didn't meet this need and this need and this need, and accept no less as a woman, or like what, so she doesn't go for him. That's the same thing with guys. Guys are like used to looking at all these hot chicks and jerking off to porn and everything else, so they think, oh, I'm only going for these. And then a girl who's like less attractive in their eyes, their warped brain, comes up and is interested in, oh, no, I'm going to stay focused, on these hot chicks that will never take me seriously. So I just think it's like, if you get sucked into that world, which is happening to most people, and you're frustrated, it feels like the game is rigged, I don't think that's the right perspective. I think you got to adjust your standards and be harsh with yourself and be like, what girls are actually into me? And then look at them and then be like, okay, these are my options, and now I can focus on having a real relationship with this person instead of just being frustrated and delusional. And then you can also be like, hey, well, if I don't like my options, like I need to become more attractive. And you got to understand, like, what do women find attractive in men and what do men find attractive in women? Those are different things. Don't be mad at the game, and then try to play the game. Everybody can get a little bit more attractive if you're really not happy, and then focus on trying to build a relationship that's actually fulfilling instead of just living in delusional land, going for people that will never be interested in you, blaming, ancient evolutionary for all men are expendable and die, and therefore we can never date anyone. It's like, what? It's not constructive. It's okay. The camera cut out, but I just want to finish by emphasizing the takeaways, in my opinion, that have helped me to have better experiences with dating. I think could help you too. Number one, it's not rigged against you as a guy. You just got to stop thinking like that. Whatever smart sounding reference to evolutionary psychology to justify that we are so expendable and we can't have standards and whatever. If it sounds like victimization, stop listening to it. It's not going to help you, and I don't actually think it's accurate. I think there's challenges on both sides. And I think if there's a challenge on one side, there's the reverberation of it on the other side, because it's dynamic. You don't date yourself. Men, we're not all dating ourselves. Well, people that are gay are dating other men. But if you're, a straight male and you want to date women, which is still the majority of men, then you're dating women. So whatever your dating results are, there's a 50-50, man. There's most places in the world. It's not like we're at war in mass amounts, or we're out hunting leopards and lions, and there's only 3 guys left in the village. It's 2025. Okay, I get that that's like evolutionary where we're coming from, but nowadays, for every man there's a woman, for every woman there's a man. For the most part, for most of you, whatever society you're living in, that's probably pretty accurate. So it's not rigged against you. It's difficult. It's weird in a lot of ways, and social media has warped things to make most people delusional. And the delusion is what's leading to your stress and anxiety about dating, and then you're looking for these radical solutions that are getting suggested by various different characters. In this case, Chris Williamson and Scott Galloway. The whole and they said a lot of positive things in this episode too. You should go listen to it, but there's this tendency for it's so rigged against men because of this. I don't think so, man. The argument doesn't really make sense. And so I think the first thing you got to do is, if you're not having good results, in my opinion, is you got to take a harsh audit. If you're not having good results, it's your own fault. It's not the system. It's not this. It's not that. Those factors can be presented to you to make logical sense, but thinking like that will never improve your situation. Okay, and I don't think it's actually that accurate. You can come up with ways to frame it, to be like, it's this, it's so unfair. Not true. I think, for the most part, social media makes you think you have more options than you do, or it makes you interested in people that aren't interested in you. That rhymed. And that's what leads to a lot of misery, man. And so taking an audit and you assessing, okay, there's a cohort of females that are of comparable attractiveness to me, and the attraction metrics are different. I don't mean just physical, but like in sexual or romantic relationships, women look for certain things, men look for certain things, and they're quite different. But there's you're going to be at a similar level, and you're going to end up syncing up or having real dating options with the girls that have similar or are kind of paired up with your same cohort of attractiveness, whatever that level may be. So there's a whole bunch of women out there that would be interested in you. You just don't look at them. You look at the freaking 10 out of 10 on Instagram, or the freaking hottest chick at your school, or the 20 hottest girls on your campus, or the 3 hottest girls at your work, and those are the girls that every guy's looking at. And then going, oh, it's so rigged and unfair because evolutionary, we hunted and died, so we're just gonna be lonely and jerk off forever. No, maybe you're only looking at freaking, Jennifer, and there's freaking 30 other chicks that are less attractive that are actually a match for you. But it's just social media shows me models all the time, so I gotta go. That's the only thing that's gonna make me happy. That's the only thing that's gonna work. So I'm only gonna do that. Like, wake up! There's a girl right there. You look, oh, she's not hot. It's like, well, that's 50% of humans, if you just looked at them, don't look like what's on social media at all. You're just getting the tip of the iceberg, the most attractive people. If you just walk around and actually look at every woman you see, you're really like, whoa. I mean this in a bad way. Same thing with men. It's just and that doesn't mean it's a bad thing. But it's like those are the real options for most of us, for most people. Man, is this average looking person. Like, that's the majority. I don't know why that's funny. I don't mean that in a mean way, but it's just, that's the reality. Okay, so if you do that, and you go like, what girls are actually interested in me? Like, let me lower my standards. Most people are delusionally have high standards, men and women across the board. That's what's creating this fracture and this divide, and why everybody's so frustrated. Men are blaming women, and women are screaming at men. We think totally differently, looking for different things in a romantic context. That is what, adds fuel to the fire. But I think the root of the problem for men is not taking accountability for being delusional with your preferences and your standards. And so if you take accountability and you land in the hierarchy of attractiveness where you are, because women are looking at men very harshly. I mean in the way of they have their own standards of what they want that they find attractive. In the same way, the men have the most harsh standards. It's so much of our attractiveness is based, or what we find attractive is based on physical beauty. You know how dismissive that is? It's like if a girl's born super hot and she, stays in shape or whatever, and she looks beautiful and she wears skimpy clothes, it's like every guy's like, yeah. What if for her there's 46 other girls that don't look that good that you do not even look at, just based physically on the way that they look. Our attraction is based so much on physical beauty. I'm not saying it's the only thing, but initially that all these girls that have other positive attributes and traits and whatever, but they're not an absolute knockout, get very little attention. Put yourself in the shoes of a girl for a second. You're like, fuck, I have to be hot. Otherwise, I'm not really going to have a bunch of hot guys into me or guys I find attractive into me. That seems really unfair. That'd be a pretty shit deal. Whereas for dudes, it's like, yeah, physical attraction plays a role, but I mean, there's a lot of guys that are not attractive that are with, really attractive, feminine, loving, awesome women. You don't see the inverse of that. You don't see Brad Pitt dating a 4 because she's got a great personality. Doesn't exist. There's plenty of super beautiful and really desirable women that are with guys that aren't that physically attractive, not physically appearance wise. So for dudes, like, the female gaze is much more forgiving in the context or the perspective that you can improve how attractive you are to women. A lot of it's based off your confidence. But I mean, even just a couple simple, like, very reductionist metrics of, like, if you make more money than you do now, you probably have a little more options. Doesn't mean women are gold diggers. Doesn't mean they're bad people. It's just like, generally speaking, if you're broke and then you go from not being broke to making more money, more women are going to find that attractive. You also feel more confident in yourself. And confidence is going to attract a lot of that. If you commit to the gym and get in shape and have muscles and are relatively lean, that will make you more attractive. If you develop yourself and stop being weak and just sitting on your phone or playing video games all day, and you get out in the world and you do stuff and you develop some more confidence and competence because you're actually good at something, which as a guy, it's like, okay, she doesn't find me attractive, but, like, let me go do something. Let me go do something with my life. You have to change and, like, hate who you are because you're not getting loved the way you're, but it's just like, it's the same way as, like, you're not looking at a girl who's ugly and being like, well, if you just develop a really good, or if you stay ugly, I'll still give you a shot. Like, you're not even giving her a chance. So it's like you want to criticize women for having standards and wanting a guy to make money or be confident or have some skills or be charismatic or whatever. So developing your character, being confident, being able to provide something as a man. It comes down to girls have different preferences, but it's like you have to be able to provide something. You have to be confident and believe in yourself. And to do that, you have to go through stuff and develop some kind of skill or get into something. And it comes in all different shapes and sizes. There's guys that are not that physically attractive that have a lot of options with women. Why? Oh, he's, very intelligent and he's accomplished and he did this or he's emotionally aware. Like, you have to have some kind of substance, something. You got to go through something. You got to develop yourself. You have to apply yourself to something. And that's very broad, but it's because people reduce it to, like, you need to be 6 feet tall with 6-figure income. It's like, I don't really think so. I think a lot of those proxy measures correlate with more options a lot of the time, but underneath that, I think it's more, have you developed yourself to be capable of something? I think that's your best bet, because then you can also base off, what am I interested in? And I just need to actually go out into the world and make something of myself. I mean, that's the male challenge. If you don't do that, women aren't going to find you attractive. And the people that are currently finding you attractive, if you don't like that, and you think they're all ugly, you don't want to date them, it's your own fault. I mean, some of that is the hand you're dealt. And that's unfortunate. You can't control that. But as a guy, what I'm saying is you have a lot of control over your options with women, but it starts with improving yourself. If you don't improve yourself, she's not going to find you more attractive. And the girls that you currently look at that you want to be with that don't find you attractive, they could in the future. You have some control of that. If you crush it, if you do everything and become like a very strong version of yourself, you don't have to listen to some fucking person like Andrew Tate tell you that you need to check these boxes and this and this. I think that's a very reductionist way of looking at it. Just look internally into yourself and be like, what would be the most proud version of myself that I would feel like right now? If you really ask yourself, do you feel proud of everything you're doing? Do you feel accomplished? Do you feel like you're living up to your potential? Most people would say no. Okay, well, then you can't complain when a bunch of women that are super hot and have tons of options aren't interested in you. And the women that you think are ugly, you're not interested in them, well, then you're just going to be jerking off to porn and looking at models on your phone all day. And that's what most people are doing. So it's like, accept your delusion. And then as a guy, I'm like, it's a blessing. It's like, you could do something about it, man. If you're a girl and she accepts her delusion, she realizes like, wow, like the majority of what I need to do is just morph my face to look different. Like, you can control your body to a degree, but if you weren't born with great bone structure and a beautiful, attractive face as a woman, it's like there's you could get surgery, you could do all this. It sounds harsh. It doesn't mean that these other attributes that women have don't matter, but probably the most important one would be becoming more physically attractive if you wanted to get more options with men. That's just ruthless. And I'll add to that, it's like there's other things with women. I think a lot of it is like actually leaning into being feminine and allowing your man to be masculine and provide certain things. Men kind of, I would say, excel when they feel like they're the provider and the protector, and they're able to fix things around the house and provide some income to cover the bills, and she feels like, oh, he's able to solve some problems when we run into shit, and things go south. I feel like I can rely on him to be there because he's accomplished. He has some skills. He's not perfect, but he's got some abilities. I feel like I can count on him. She's going to find that attractive. And man, I think a lot of times it's like, if you're physically beautiful and you're like a lot of guys would call it chill, but like you don't instigate a lot of drama in our lives, right, fellas? She shows up, she's attractive, and she's of a pleasant demeanor. She's feminine. She's not challenging you. She's not trying to be. She doesn't feel like you're hanging out with one of your dude friends. Feels like a totally different energy. It's soft. It's a little wild and sporadic, feminine energy, unpredictable. That's what we like. A little bit exciting, a little bit unpredictable. She's loving, and she's like fun to hang out with. And she supports you as a man, and she wants you to be masculine and strong and be better. But you got to inspire that in her. You got to show that I'm putting, you don't have to be perfect, but you got to show I'm trying. I'm out here and I'm going for something. I'm trying to develop myself. I'm challenging my weaknesses and I'm applying myself to things. And if you continue to do that over time, over and over and over, you're going to develop some experiences, some stories, some abilities, some skills. She's like, wow, look at him developing himself. And I think a woman who's in her feminine essence, she has her own progression, but she sees that in a guy. She wants to support you. She's like, okay, I believe in this guy. He's applying himself. And I don't think it's like as much you need to get to this end destination where I'm a billionaire and I have 300 million followers on social media and then girls will like me. I don't think that's it, man. I think it's an aura and an energy that you can develop just by applying yourself. Doesn't mean you're going to score the ultimate dream girl right away, but I think immediately if you actually change your habits to, try to get out of your comfort zone and stop choosing the weak options and go for something, and it doesn't even have to be related to the gym. I mean, anything in life that you're interested in was, you want to become a pilot, you want to, get really good at like building wooden structures, you want to get good at coding, whatever it is, like just go, like do something and apply yourself to it and subject yourself to pressure and discomfort so that you can actually develop as a man. I think that's the male pursuit, and I'm really rambling, but the point I'm trying to make is that as a man, to me, it's so sad to victimize yourself, say the situation is so unfortunate, I can't get any girls. It's like, you can do something about it. Whereas women, it's like, there's less they can do. Because again, the women are looking at these metrics and and you could just develop yourself and get all these different skills and go through these experiences and become better and advance as a man. And boom, all of a sudden you just show up and she's like, wow, he's so much more attractive. Like, what is that, right? She feels it. She's like, he's confident. He's been through some things. He's done some stuff. He's got something to say. He believes in something. He stands for something. He's developed him. He's so good socially with people. He used to be awkward and stutter, but now he just puts himself in all these uncomfortable situations. He learns to socialize. He has friends. Look at this. This guy's attractive now. Wow, you can do that. That's great. Whereas you're still dismissing that girl who's ugly because she's born ugly and there's nothing she can do about it. She's not magically, you're going to show up and you're going to be like, wow, just look at her personality. You just see her and you're like, she's ugly. I don't like her. And even if you get to know her and she's a cool personality, like, I don't really care because she's ugly. Like, that's the heat that you're putting on women. You wonder why women are so insecure about the way they look and their bodies and they're fixating on that stuff. Like, problems on both sides, man. You can paint a sad, victimized picture for yourself if you want, either way, but it's not going to help you to get better. And I just wanted to, I know I really rambled there, but I just wanted to point that out because I'm not on board with, kind of radical explanation for why it's rigged for men. The situation's hard. It's frustrating. There's difficult aspects of it. It's not completely fair. I agree. But that is not the type of messaging that I think is going to help. And I think a lot of it is like, if you actually take ownership of all your fuck shit and improve, then women will find you more attractive. And a big part of that is to stop being delusional and to stop looking at girls that are way out of your fucking league and stop jerking off to porn and all this shit. It's just not realistic. And you can do those things. Those things will always be there to tempt you and say, hey, come in. You can take that, but you're being weak. I think it's smell it on you, man. They can smell it. This guy's delusional. He's weak. He doesn't have confidence. He's not basing his attraction for women on like realistic experiences and things he's actually doing in real life because he's living through his freaking phone being delusional. Same way where you find a girl and she's like so... You're thinking in your head is like, oh, we're in the same league, but she thinks she's so much better than you. Such hot shit. My shit doesn't stink. It's because she's using Tinder and Instagram, and she's got a bunch of simps in there, inflating her ego, making her think she has more dating options than she does. And you're going to find that really unattractive. She's going to exhibit behavior that you will find very unattractive. Like, wow, like this is like very emasculating, and you're like, she's acting like she's so much better than you. You're not going to connect with her. You're going to find it kind of offensive and very unenjoyable to be around her. It's the exact same thing. It just looks different. Just the physical representation of it is different, but the underlying symptom I think is similar. And at the end of the day, like I'm a dude, so I can relate to being a dude, being attracted to women, and trying to date women. And that's what most of you here probably. Well, I know that most of you are dudes, but you might be straight, you might be gay, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're looking at somebody that you want to date, you want to be with them. You need to assess whether that's realistic. You need to assess what is that based off of. Is that some kind of mind virus poison that's been put into my mind through looking at social media all the time, creating delusion, manipulating my wants and desires to make me want something that if I actually tasted that in real life, I wouldn't even want it. That's the other thing a lot of people don't consider. You're just idolizing it. And then taking accountability for where you're at and what your options are in terms of dating prospects, and then taking action. And I think understanding, the not getting mad at what women find attractive, because again, the way I'm trying to frame it is that the female gaze is much more, it's less ruthless than the male one, because you can change a lot of the things that they find attractive. Whereas our gaze, there's not as much women can do to change their physical appearance. Whereas you could be born broke, have a lisp, social anxiety, not confident, not good at anything, and you could become Elon Musk. It's an extreme example. You don't have to be Elon Musk, but like Elon Musk, a lot of options, right? We can all agree. There's probably a billion women that would be interested. That's an extreme example, but you could do your own version of it. You don't have to be Elon Musk, but whatever version of you is like an excelling version. And then I think also if you pour into that, you start to realize like, oh, like fixating on women wasn't really what I should have been doing in the first place. Because if you're a guy and like your whole crux of your existence is like getting like a model girlfriend who like doesn't want you at all, it's like a sad life, man. It's like there's so much more to like a beautiful relationship is a huge part of life, but like as a man, you got to go out and do something with your life too. You got to have something to dedicate yourself to go after. And a loving female partner will be much more interested, I think, if you have something going on that has nothing to do with women. There's like a pursuit that you're developing yourself in. You're trying to improve yourself. It's just hard work and creates a little bit of gusto, which a lot of guys don't want to do because we're living in a comfortable, nerfed corners, all the sharp edges dulled off world where you can just loaf through and make weak, shitty decisions and exist. There's the chance of, death, physical, what am I trying to say? Back in the day, if you were a weak piece of shit, you didn't survive. It was a lot harder to survive, If you weren't useful and you didn't get on your shit, man, you're not surviving, But whereas today, the standard of living is so high that you can be a useless piece of shit and live your whole life. It's not very hard to survive. And I don't know what country you live in, but I'm in Canada. If you're in a first world country, it's like you don't have to be on your shit at all. You can just survive and be a total loser. And I mean that as like I've been a loser before. We all have the potential to be a loser. But it's a dark path, man. Don't choose that. And victimizing yourself by describing the landscape of dating in this way that they're describing in this podcast is, I think, one is like a crux that could hold you back. And you gotta let go of that and look at these other ways. I mean, it's just my opinion. It's based on my personal experience, man. I've lived all the different types of dating and experiences and things as well. And I've had a lot of my own frustration issues. And this is what I found. I was like, something's not adding up. like, why am I not having good results? Why am I not, the girls I'm interested in, like, you're getting frustrated, things aren't working, this, that, so this is where all this is coming from. I just think a lot of people are messaging it in a way to explain away why you're not having good results, which if you want to do that same thing in the gym, man, you want to be a science-based friggin' lifter and explain how you know how to do everything and this and that, but or do you want to be the guy that has way better results and is jacked as fuck? It's like you can soothe your comforts by an explanation that the system is rigged against man. What does that do for you? Okay, now you feel great, but you're still freaking single and lonely and jerking off. It didn't really improve anything, or you can not bias, feeling better immediately, and bias results by taking an honest audit of your delusion and finding the level on the rung where you're at equal attractiveness with women, and you're probably gonna be very disappointed. And you could choose to go back to being delusional and just live in the digitized version where you have, some modified form of access to these extremely beautiful women that'll gladly, let you sit in their DMs or subscribe to, whatever profile or whatever they're doing, they'll have you, they'll take your attention. You can just live that existence. I mean, that sounds pretty fucking lame to me. You want to live like that? That's kind of sad. So that's not what I'm here to promote, man. I think you could have a way better life if you decide to look your delusion in the face, address what situation you're at, and make peace with having relationships with those people. And if you don't like the people that are at your level, what your options are, then upgrade your life, man. As a guy, there's so many things you could do to improve. There's so many fucking things you could do to develop yourself. That's all you got to do. And there's nobody's gonna do it for you, and nobody's telling you what thing to do. But just like, what are you interested in? What do you like? What ambitions do you have? Develop yourself in pursuit of them. Just start doing that, and you will immediately start to notice that women find you more attractive because you're doing something. And if you try to develop yourself in something that's going to challenge you, it's going to slowly weed out all your weaknesses. Don't try to copy what I'm doing. Don't try to copy what somebody else is doing. Brainstorm and think in your own head. What do I want? What kind of life do I want? What kind of things am I interested in? Irrespective of women. Nothing to do with women. What kind of career? What kind of social life? What kind of other things I want in my life? Think about that. Brainstorm that. And then start working towards them. And you have to eat shit daily, but that's how you get better. That's how you improve. And then slowly you develop yourself into something. And then more women will find you attractive. You start to become more confident. You go, wow, this is great. You don't have to be some fucking 6 foot, 6-figure fucking social media person. Oh, it's stupid. It's a stupid standard. It's not. You're gonna live this life that isn't you. You're not even gonna be fulfilled. And then some girl's gonna be with you for this version of you that isn't actually you. You're not gonna get any fulfillment out of the relationship. You're just appealing to this standard that somebody told you, fucking Andrew Tate or somebody else told you need to be like this to get attraction from women. Again, they're not interested in you. Whereas you could be true to yourself. You could look internally and go, what do I actually like? What am I interested in? What do I want to do with my life? And then I'm going to lean into that. I'm going to develop myself. It's going to be a beautiful journey. It's going to suck sometimes. It's going to be good. That's fucking life. But I'm not going to be numb, staring at my phone, living some digitized version of a relationship and an experience. And then as I go on that journey and improve myself, the girls that I'm interested in are going to slowly become more attracted to me if I really challenge myself and really keep pushing. Then, maybe I'm not getting the freaking 10 out of 10 model, but maybe some girl who wouldn't even look at me before is actually interested. And I'm like, damn, let's do it. I don't know. I was just on a ramble there. I don't know where that went. But you want somebody to be interested in who you really are, is what I'm saying. So you should base, what you need to do if you're confused and uncertain. And so many people are coming online. There's so many male gurus and dating saying, this is the prescription. You're so surface level and reductionist. And there's no one way to do it. There's a lot of different kinds of guys that have a lot of options with women. They're completely different types of dudes. So to me, there's no evidence that it's like you have to fit this one mold. You got to be alpha and be jacked and fucking talk really fast and whatever and fucking trade crypto. Like, make millions and fucking not work somehow and just have a big dick and just sit in your fucking penthouse. That's how I'm going to get all the bitches. It's like, no, you should just look internally for you. Be like, well, what am I interested in? What do I like? And then and if you just actually challenge yourself and develop yourself in pursuit of that, then your options with women will certainly improve. They will improve. Maybe it's not going to be the delusional standards you had before may never be met, but you can definitely improve your options if you're really not happy with where they are. And that's just a choice. That's just the dilemma that you're being faced as a man today. And there's no right or wrong, but you have a choice. You can live a kind of miserable, muted, numbed out, digitized version of life and romantic relationships. It'll always be there. There'll be always hot chicks online and porn and everything else to appeal to you. And you can fucking do that. and nobody's going to stop you. I'm not going to stop you. I'm not even here to tell you that's wrong. You do it if you want, but I'm here to tell you that you're probably going to be less happy. You're probably going to have a worse life. But that's with a lot of things in life is if you want a better life, you have to do the more uncomfortable, challenging thing to achieve the better result. If you just take what's spoon-fed to you and take what's easy, you're going to end up having a worse result. And you might be okay with that. It's your choice. But if you actually want a better result and you're not happy with where you're at, and you're blaming the fucking structure of dating and ancient evolutionary psychology and fucking Andrew Tate told me I need to be this, you're going to end up being way more unhappy, I think. So this is the gift and the poison of social media is it connects us, gives you access to information, but it creates delusion, man. You're looking through the screen, basing your wants and desires off of something you looked at through a phone. Look it through your own fucking eyes. What's the real world telling you, man? What females actually are interested in me? Holy shit, I never even look at those chicks. You're just staring at your fucking phone the whole time thinking that fucking hot-ass chicks are what you should go for. You just keep chasing those chicks, keep taking no's, keep falling on your face, never have I think the biggest point is like there is a totally receptive, warm female that is interested in you, but you're just delusional, you're not looking at her. And it's the same thing for women. There's a totally, very interested, receptive man who's interested in her, but she's not looking at him. So it's like this idea that it's rigged. No, it's not. 50-50, most part. It's not like 80% of people in Canada are fucking men, 20% women. Last time I checked, it's somewhere near 50-50. It's where I live. I think most countries are like that, unless you're in China or some shit. But you probably wouldn't even be watching this if you're in China. You get your own friggin' internet or something, don't they? Different kind of YouTube or some shit that you can't even look at because government won't let you look at it or something like that. Am I going to get canceled because I spoke bad about China? I don't know. Anyways, I know it's really off topic and something very different with this channel, but I just think it's a message that, even again, if a couple of you listen to it and you go, wow, that's interesting, and provokes some thought and gets you on your journey to, developing yourself as a man so that you can have a better, and ultimately it's bigger than just your female options, because at the end of the day, you want a relationship with a woman that really wants to be with you, and this idea that you can't have a standard, guys can't have an ick, and we can't it's stupid. It's just the delusion on both sides is creating that type of scenario where you think that's the case. It's like, you should just take whatever you could get and be happy. It's like, that's the worst attitude, man. That means like you don't think you have any value, I mean, if you're delusional, then your standards aren't valued. But if you're honest with yourself and you understand what attractiveness you bring and you're interacting with women of similar attractiveness level, then you 100% should have standards. But most people are just delusional. So it's like, yeah, okay, based on that delusional thinking, and you're only going after this top 10% of women, you probably can't have standards. But then she's not going to respect you anyways. That's a problem. It's like a defeating. You think, in the short term, I'll be able to just hang on. I'll get a girl. I'll just desperately hang. She's going to hate that, man. She's going to hate it. It's going to be like, ugh. It's like desperate and clingy. It's like, ugh. Don't be that. That's what I'm saying. Like, if you it's not, but then other guys like act like they don't want girls to protect themselves, right? So you need to be in the middle. It's like you want a girl or whatever to have, maybe you just want sexual relations, maybe you want a long-term relationship, whatever it is, you want some type of a relationship with women, then I think you just need to actually be interested in other shit in your life too. So you don't have to act either that you desperately need her or that you don't need her, even though underneath you feel like she could leave you at any moment. So as a protection, you act like you're not interested. Guys do that too. Really, if you really got your shit under control, and again, it's not some fixed destination, but you just start taking on actions and habits where you're actually trying to develop yourself in whatever you're interested in, and you apply yourself to things, and you choose courage instead of fear, and you start taking action, then she's going to find you more attractive. Lost my train of thought. Probably I'm like sitting here sweating, just rambling. Thought the quality on the channel was increasing. What is this? Yeah, I think that's enough. You get the point. I think I'm just speaking in circles, rambling. Anyways, hopefully something came out of that makes sense to you. And I don't freaking know everything. This is what I've experienced, and I just think there's not a lot of people like giving like a good perspective to men, and men feel lost and unhappy and single and alone, lonely and jerking off and not having. And I feel like this perspective helped me a lot. And I've been in that position where you're feeling frustrated, you're not having good dating outcomes, and you understand why. And I think once I started looking at life this way, it helped me a lot. So that's why I'm like, I think it would help other guys. I mean, everybody's experiences are different, but yeah, at the end of the day, you just want somebody that actually wants you, and that person is out there. And it's just sad to me that people are so focused on these constructs of how it's supposed to be, so it's unfair, and then they're not experiencing like a beautiful, loving relationship with a woman, because you're convincing yourself that we're expendable and we can't have standards, and that's crazy talk, man. You just need to get on. You just need to not be delusional and actually be on your shit and be a quality dude. And then there's a lot of awesome, amazing, loving women that are desperately be interested. But, unfortunately, the dating landscape is morphing, and most guys, it's hard as a young fella nowadays. I'm not discrediting that, but just, if you want to be the victim and just cry and have sympathy, the world ain't going to, that's just not the male experience, man. The world is not going to improve. It's only going to get worse if you do that. You need to improve yourself, resisting against challenge, and that's the struggle. But again, women have their own struggle on their side, man, and it's just different. I wouldn't say it's any better or worse, so stop looking at it like that. Something to think about. Anyways, if you're really looking to get a super, sexy freaking Latina in your life, or whatever your flavor of interest is, then you're probably going to want an absolutely massive girth monster. Girth monsters, arms. Come on, get your head out of the gutter. An absolute set of big old thickies. A freaking gigantic python. I'm realizing all my arm freaking lingo jokes just relate to cock. Girth monsters. The pipe daddies? Yeah. Big old thickies. If you just took the plural out of it, they would all be about cock. Girth monster, pipe daddy, big old thickie, python. Basically, I just got two giant cocks splitting out the side of my shirts in my mind. I don't know what the hell we're talking about. Anyways, if you want some big pipes, arms, then check out the site, man. Help you grow. It's a tool that you could use. Also, as I keep mentioning, I'm talking about all the enhanced stuff I'm doing, which isn't that much stuff, but on the site too. So all those videos, every time I make a YouTube, I make or most of it, I'm uploading like once or twice a week there, talking about different topics in the enhanced world. It's not something that's discussed openly and transparently. As I'm chasing more gains, I'm no longer natural. And so I'm sharing all that open, transparent, honest information and just documentation of what I'm doing. So if you think that would be useful to help you, gain some knowledge in that area, or just understand what the reality is. There's so much misrepresentation and lying about that stuff. People lie about whether they're natural or not. And then when they are natural, they lie about what they're taking. And I just found it was like, it's just such a mess. I was like, I should just tell people, but it's going to cost you. It's kind of like personal information that I don't really want to just put on YouTube for free, So I was like, I'll put it on my site, if you really are serious and you want to support and you want to follow the journey and you want to try to learn, because that's what I thought would be very helpful. Like a year or two in the past, like when I was trying to learn about all this stuff, there's not that many people that are transparently documenting what they're doing. So I was like, what if I just transparently document what I'm doing? So other people who are interested, whether it ends up being the right decision or not for you, it's like you need access to accurate information. And sharing my anecdotal experience and the things I've learned along the way, I think is a resource that would help a lot of you to actually understand, what happens in that world, when you do certain things and what types of things to expect. And I think a lot of people, if they had proper access to all the truthful information, there'd be some people who would recklessly jump in to doing a cycle or something, and they, if they're actually exposed to truthful information, they may not have done that. I think it could actually dissuade a lot of people who would say, oh, it's holy shit, it's not even going to be worth it because of this. It's for you to decide. Everybody's going to come to their own conclusion, but anyways, access to truthful information for you guys is really useful. So that's what I'm doing there on the site. And again, you get all the ARM courses and all the ARM content and all the, continuous videos documenting that stuff and me sharing everything that's going on in that world on the site for one price, $9 a month. And you can cancel anytime if you want, but you should stick around. I think it's pretty fair. It's a lot of value, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, even the ARM stuff, you don't need it necessarily. Give a lot of the information away for free. It's just like if you wanted a little more structure, you wanted things to be a little more condensed and organized, then the site's useful for that, for ARM training. You're looking for some different routines to experiment with, and you want to invest a little money into getting a little bit better access to information and content, then go ahead. But again, so I always say it's like, it's working out's not that complicated, so I'm not here to make you think that, you need the ARM program if you want to grow, like, I give away most of the information for free, repeat it over and over and over again. If you're serious about gains, then you don't actually need that, but it could help. If you enjoy the videos too, it's like, subscribe to the site if you want to support. Trying to make a living doing freaking content, it's not easy, at least for me at this point. So any of you that choose to sign up for the site, I greatly appreciate it. It helps me to continue to grow my pipe daddies and continue to make content and, try to carve out a career in this fitness social media space, which I'm working my ass off to try to do. So if you like my message and you enjoy my content and you feel like you get something out of it, it would mean a lot to me if you went out and checked out the site, and if it fits for you and you want, even if you just want to support me, that would be cool too. So I'm not trying to say, I need help, whatever, but it's like, it's just be transparent. That is what we're trying to do, and appreciate all you guys watching. Leave a comment about this rant about dating, a little bit of different video. We're going to continue with the formal, professionally edited videos as well, but some days I might just feel like sitting down and having a chat and just ranting and rambling, for somebody out there in the abyss to listen to. Because they laid down on their couch, they hit play on the computer, and then 56 minutes later they've been too lazy to get up, so they've been forced to listen to this whole madman ramble. That person, that's my audience. That's who I'm looking forward to entertain the fuck out of you, man. Just laying there, just subject to the fuckery and the nonstop banter and the repeating in circles. But for real, I hope you got something out of that. A lot of that's from the heart, and I think that you don't have to totally agree with everything I'm saying. Of course not, but some of you who are out there, you're in the gym, you're trying to get jacked, you're trying to date women. I hope that you got something from that could help you a little bit, just to improve a little. And it's all based off my own personal experience, things I've gone through, and we're all in this together, man. So hope that helps you guys. So have a great freaking day. Let's shut it off before I ramble into another circle. Go make some gosh dang gains. Peace.